Welcome to the Bigfoot Society. In this episode, I talked to two BFRO researchers, Scott Taylor and Larry Sidwell, about their experiences researching Bigfoot in Washington, West Virginia, and Kentucky. If you have experienced something similar to what these two have, or have more information regarding Bigfoot or other cryptids in the same areas, please reach out immediately to me after this episode. Remember, your encounter could be the key to unlocking this mystery once and for all, so please don't hesitate to contact me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. All right, Bigfoot Society, we have Mr. Scott Taylor with us today. Scott, how's it going?
It's going really good this fine fall day.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful one out here in Iowa for sure. And I'm sure it's even more beautiful out there in the Pacific Northwest. But let's get down to it. I wanted to talk to a BFRO investigator. And so I did a little digging in the sighting reports on the website, and your name comes up a lot for Washington. You're all over the place. So, Scott, can you tell us a little background about yourself and how you got into the whole Bigfoot thing and all that good stuff?
Okay. I've been a lifelong hunter and fisherman and all that, and been out in the woods a lot, and totally ambivalent about the subject of Bigfoots. I had seen the Patterson-Gimlin film when I was a kid and all that, watched the TV shows In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy and all that. So there was a little bit of an interest there. But 2005, I was deer hunting only about 10 miles west of where I currently live, and had an encounter there. And that just turns your world upside down as soon as you have an encounter, because this so-called myth is suddenly real. And everything you thought you knew about the world is different. So my coping mechanism was not only to shoot my mouth off a lot at work about it, it was also to start learning everything I could. So I was digging into books on the internet, looking at the stories, and just trying to learn everything I could. And then I saw the BFRO website had expeditions that you could sign up for and go, and thought, this will be fun. So I signed up for an expedition the summer of 2006 and had a great time. Met some awesome friends, got to meet Bob Gimlin, got to listen to his whole story. It seemed 3 hours where he told the whole thing, all the details. Wow. Details you'll never read anywhere. And just really enjoyed it, and made a lot of friends. We started networking and started meeting up and doing a little bit of squatching and learning from each other. And I was asked to be an investigator because of the interest I showed. And so I said, sure, I'll do that. And so I got signed up for it, and they taught me the ropes of how to do an investigation and use the BFRO's huge database, and there's around 75,000 reports in there right now.
Wow.
And I just started doing reports about 2 a month. I've since slowed down, life changes, work responsibilities change. COVID came along. I took an early layoff, basically an early retirement, but it was a layoff from Boeing, and moved out to our place, which is out in the forest. I've got a clear cut to the west. I got woods to the north, woods to the east, woods to the south. Nearest neighbor's a quarter mile away. I thought, okay, I want to live out here where they live. But anyway, I'm backing up to doing reports and that kind of thing. I was just looking at my log book. I'm up to almost 190 reports that I've followed up on.
Wow.
A lot of them, maybe half, turn out to be absolutely nothing. The people won't get back to you. You call them up. They won't return your calls. Just nothing there. But there's a good percentage of them that are really solid eyeball sightings, what we call Class Bs, where you hear wood knocks and you might hear vocalizations and rock clacking and tree breaking and that kind of thing. And then there's the real good nuggets are the reports where there's habituation going on, where these people live out in the forest or out in a rural area. They've got forest around them, and they realize that something's going on with something that's sharing their property with them. Tools might get moved around if they're left out, might disappear, you find them out on a trail somewhere. Dogs get beat up, have problems. Funny things like there might be stick structures found on the property. There might be actual sightings, glyphs, rock patterns left on their back porch or something like that. Go, where do these 5 rocks come from? 5 rocks. Hey, there's 5 people in the family. Oh, they're acknowledging that.
Oh,
that
man,
kind of thing.
Really?
And it's also a journey. When I started out, you got this notion, this preconceived idea that you're dealing with a great big wood ape, something that is just like a super elusive primate that's out there, and which makes the whole problem easy to wrap your head around. But then as you go along and you learn, and you have experiences, you compare notes with other investigators, you go on a bunch of expeditions and compare notes with a lot of other people, plus the experiences you have following up on reports, you find out there's more to it, a lot more to it. They're not just a dumb wood ape. They're smart. They have their own norms, things that they do everywhere. Some groups will do more wood knocking in some areas, and other groups will do more whoops and hollers. And it just depends on that local family or clan in the region. But they all do similar things. You'll have your vocalization. You'll have your wood knocking. You'll have your tree breaking. You'll have rock clacking. You'll have glyphs. You'll have stick structures. You'll have subtle signs that they're around. But it's the same everywhere, all the way from Florida to Alaska and from Southern California all the way up to Maine, all over. They're doing similar kinds of things.
That is fascinating. I'm glad you answered my question without me asking it, which is nice. The whole, what do you think Bigfoot is? And that's a very interesting explanation. It's very cool. But I'm curious, I would assume you've been on tons of expeditions, right? All over the place, going out with the BFRO. You're out there in the Pacific Northwest. Has there been a time where you've been like, I'm in too deep, this is too crazy, or I don't want to be here right now because of what's happening? Has there been that level?
Not for me personally.
Okay.
But I do see that in other people.
Okay.
When you start down this journey of learning this, it will reach a point where some people cannot go further. And that's where we get into what everybody calls woo-woo stuff.
Okay.
You're talking early on, the idea of eye glow was woo.
Sure.
And people with PhDs would say, that's impossible. But they didn't understand what was actually happening there because they're not out in the field. When you got people out in the field and they're seeing eye glow and 2 big eyes that are 8 feet up peeking out from behind a tree, it's really happening. I don't care that the PhD says it's impossible. It's really happening. And other things like cloaking, being able to just cloak out, can't see them until they move. When they move, you can see them on the movie Predator.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they can do that. And people have gotten videos of that. I've personally seen it myself. So I know that they do it. The great video that Barb Shoop got on our channel, Squatching with Bob and Gabby. Yeah. Barb and Gabby.
Okay.
That's her dog who passed on.
Gotcha.
But anyway, excellent cloaker video. They do this stuff. But then there's people that say, that's impossible. I can't wrap my head around that. And that's okay. But that's where you're going to stop. You're not going to keep learning because they've got a lot to teach us if we'll listen. As soon as we're done listening, then we're done. You're not going to progress any further. But then it can take you down a rabbit hole that is pretty mind-blowing. And you find out there's a lot of different things out of there besides just our big forest friends.
You've actually you've seen cloaking done by Bigfoot in the field. Do you mind talking about how that was or what you experienced?
First time, me and 2 friends, a gal and her son, had gone out to explore this area that's south of Tacoma, Washington, about 25 miles. It's a area that was set aside, formerly logging land, but it was set aside to be a state park. And since it's been developed, but old logging roads, and we were just walking out on the logging roads, just walking around, and there had been a number of really good sightings around the area, reported, followed up on just a half a mile away, where they were having things happen real regularly. Every week something was going on. And we're just walking out on our way back to the truck, and we heard a big something moving from our right to our left, and it walked up across the road right in front of us, but it was all blurry and shimmery. but the thing was huge. And then as it walked off the left side of the roads through the trees, we could see the trees moving. And then it seemed to stop about 50 yards in, completely out of sight. And this beautiful, big, loud whistle came to us. And so the gal I was with, she's really good at whistling. I'm not so good at it, but she is really good at whistling. And they whistled back and forth, had a little exchange for about 4 times. And then we just heard it walk away. Got bored with us, it walked away. Definitely 3 of us. So,
okay, I was gonna ask that. All 3 members of the party saw that shimmering as it moved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
it was
incredible.
all like, what is that? So, yeah.
Is that something that you hear a lot come up in reports for the areas out there?
No.
Okay.
No. So the general public that turns in reports it's new to them. The whole concept of Bigfoot is new to them. They would never think to tie those things together. As a matter of fact, they would never even notice that something like that had happened, more than likely. I have never seen reports come in that talk about the woo stuff, because that's so far down the spectrum of understanding for the general public that it's just not associated with it. It's more what the ghost hunters would pick up on. And a lot of times when I watch some of the TV shows about the ghost hunting people, I'm going, hey, they're dealing with a Bigfoot and they don't know it. But
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting to think. I never thought that way, but yeah, totally. In certain areas that could be the case. That's wild to think about. Do you think that Bigfoot cloaking would fall in the field of what some consider woo?
My personal opinion is that it's going to be mainstream.
Okay.
And it already is starting to become that as more and more people experience it, learn that it happens. And once you learn that it happens, you learn to watch out for it. And like I said, the idea of eye glow, that was considered woo at one time. And it's not now. Every experienced Bigfooter knows, watch out for eye glow at night when you're doing your night walks, because that's the first thing you're going to see. No, that kind of thing and other things, they'll gradually become mainstream. They call that stuff paranormal.
Yep.
Paranormal just is normal. We don't understand.
Exactly.
We don't know the mechanism that it's happening with. But if you just think back, do a little mental exercise. Say you took somebody from the year 1500 and you took them to Walmart. And you walk up to the front door. Not only are the cars and everything driving around going to freak them out, but you walk up to the door and the door just magically opens. To them, magically opens.
Yeah.
Now, we today, because we understand the mechanisms, we know there's a little radar thing up there and it detects the presence of a person and it opens up. But to them, that would be sorcery. It'd
Absolutely.
be paranormal. They wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there. Us humans, as modern as we think we are, we still don't understand.
There's so many parts of the spectrum that we can't see with the type of technological instruments we have right now. Who knows what's actually out there? And that could be all over the place, not just Bigfoot, could be other stuff too. But has there been a time when you've been out in the field where you've been able to get a really good look at like a face-to-face encounter or anything like that?
The one where I was that I could have done that was at night.
Oh, okay.
And he was only 3 feet away.
3 feet away?
3 feet away, yeah. Yeah,
Holy
if he
mackerel.
wanted to grab me, he could have grabbed me. And it was fun. They were having fun with us. We had a group that was night walking. We went out to the end of the road. We all sat down. Summertime, 10:30, 11 o'clock. It was still light to the northwest. Night vision was fully formed. We could see pretty good. And we were approached from 3 different directions.
Oh, man.
And they weren't being stealthy about it. They were just stomping. They came down to watch us. So who's watching who? Who's observing? Anyway, this one had crossed the road and was lying in the grass. And half of the group got so scared because of this that they wanted to be taken out. And so I'm going, geez, you came all this way.
This is what you're here for, people.
And this is what you're here for. And now they're here. Let's make lemonade out of lemons. So I said, okay, here's the plan. Half the group stays and observes what they do when I walk out with basically the children and their mom. And walking up the road, it had belly crawled across the road. Somebody saw it. Nobody was listening to that young man, but They saw it.
Yeah.
Walked right up even with it on my side of the road, and it gets up. And it got up on all fours, and it's like having something the size of a cow. That's how big they are. Got up, and I was startled. I turned around like I was going to hit it with my walking stick. The woman and her kids were screaming. Anyway, it just turned and dove off the side of the hill, down the hill. So it didn't do anything other than scare the heck out of us.
Yeah.
And to me, that was one of the most fun encounters I've ever had. But other sightings have been a little more of a distance. I saw a little one look like a 4-foot tall cousin walking across basically running across the road in front of us, only about 50 yards in front of the vehicle. That was pre-dash camera days. Ran across the road, coming back, same day, coming back, getting ready to turn into the clearing where we had our main base camp, and a great big one, full adult, walks across the road about 200 yards down the road in front of us. And they are so fast. I had my camera out. I had it on. I had my finger on the button, and he walks out. My passenger said, "There he is." But my attention was already on making my turn.
Yeah.
And so by the time I looked up to where it was and got my finger to push the button, he was already gone.
Oh, man.
I didn't get him. But on that expedition, several other people did. Because you could go to that spot where we were, put your camera up, walk, face it down the road, and about the same time every evening, he'd cross the road right there.
That's crazy.
A couple of 100 yards away.
Wow, that's repeatable behavior. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
They have fun with us.
Yeah.
That's one thing about a BFRO expedition. You create an enticing, fun atmosphere. You have, not only do you have the guys there, but you have the women there, you have kids there. Kids are welcome. One expedition, we had kids riding around on bikes and talking on the radios and having a great time. It's a fun kind of a deal where you don't have to say to the kids, "Shh, quiet, you're going to scare the Bigfoot." You want them to notice that you're there, and everybody's thinking about them. So we're putting out this Bigfoot vibe, and at least I think so. And they're picking up on that, and they're going, "We got to go see what's going on with these people." We had one time, everybody's sitting around the campfire, and adults have been doing whoops and that kind of thing, getting nothing in response. So we said, "Hey, kids, do a whoop." So all the kids, 1, 2, 3, all the kids went whoop, and we got an instant response.
Really?
They were keyed in on those kids. And so because of the atmosphere that you create, fun, non-threatening, interesting, singing, laughing, joking, having a good time, but also being serious about it, but not so serious that you look like you're hunting.
Sure.
Okay? 85% of the time, my guess is you'll have something happen. And it's pretty regular. We had one this summer where it was an expedition where not a lot happened, but we did have one good sighting. And also, when the whole group was at the main base area having a meeting, one decided he was going to leave some footprints where we could find them.
Wow.
And left a great big one, toes, everything, for some people to cast.
That's
so
awesome.
They'll furtively play around with you even if they don't want to get too involved with what's going on. They'll at least let you know they're around.
Roughly how many different expeditions do you think you've been involved with over the years?
Probably 15.
Wow. Let's pretend you have someone, they're coming out on the expedition, it's their first time. How would you like that person to be prepared to be able to handle themselves in a Bigfoot expedition? What kind of stuff do they need?
Okay, all you really need, you don't need a lot. You need proper clothing, footwear. You need proper camping gear because you're going to have your own tent and your sleeping bag and all that kind of thing. Just a regular camera. I prefer your standard digital camera over a cell phone. The reason I don't prefer the cell phone, and that's just me though, is because it leaves as part of the metadata latitude and longitude.
That's a good point.
And if you don't know how to scrub that off of there, other people can go figure out exactly where you were. So I shy away from that, especially when I'm dealing with a habituation site. I don't want people to know where that is. Getting back to your question, a headlamp that has red, a good walking stick, something you can use for scale when you take pictures. The most frustrating thing for an investigator is to have somebody send them a picture of what looks like a really nice footprint, and you can't tell how big it is. But not all Bigfoot footprints are big. They have babies, little tiny feet, all the way up 21, 22 inches. Having something for scale, they'll need that. And then other than that, a pack with your basic things that you need in it, a compass, water. If they want to bring something to make castings with, hydrocal is better. Don't bring plaster of Paris. That does not really work that well. It's not structurally strong enough.
Okay.
In my opinion, hydrocal, which you get at a lot of building supplies, especially building supplies that deal with masonry. You can get that, bring that along. I used to carry it in my pack, and my back started hurting me because that stuff's heavy.
Okay.
And I keep it in a tote at camp. If we find something, I'll go get it. But that kind of thing. And then the other thing is be emotionally ready to deal with the subject. Some people aren't there. We always have a talk first night of what to expect, so people are primed for it. We don't tell them about the woo stuff.
Okay.
That will sometimes turn people off because they're not ready for that. But we tell them, if you have some weird things happening, I don't care how weird it is, come talk to us. And usually there's an expedition staff member there who understands that stuff and can maybe clear it up for them. But we don't want to pre-prime them to be seeing cloaked Bigfoots everywhere. We just want them to just experience what happens out there. Most activity is in the dark at night. When I do night walks, I insist on no light. None. Not even the red light.
Okay.
Have the light, the flashlight with you or the headlamp with you. But it's for emergencies. If somebody gets hurt, trips over something, we need to deal with a medical emergency, yeah, turn on the headlights. If something were to happen that people were feeling very threatened, okay, you can hit the white lights. It'll stop. They'll go away. You can leave and defuse the situation. You're there to have an experience. No lights. After 15, 20 minutes in the dark, on a no moon light, you can see everybody. You can see what's on the road. You can see where the rocks are. People's night vision is a lot better than most people realize because they never go do it. To me, one of the most fun and interesting things is seeing the scenes that you see in the dark. You're not just seeing black. You're seeing things, but it's from a perspective that humans generally don't get to see. And it's beautiful. Not only that, but that's when they're out. So if you want to have the highest chance of having an encounter, that's when you do that. And let the people in the group split apart a little bit, some ahead, some behind. Sometimes we want to come out, walk between the groups, following the first group. They'll follow along to the side. There was one time where the group had seen one on a thermal and kept going and walked up to where that was. Then they saw two of them off about 50 yards away. And so they all just stopped, and the girls started singing a song and swaying back and forth.
Okay.
And the guys the people with the thermals were watching them, and the Sasquatches were swaying back and forth with the girls as they were singing the song. And that's not uncommon to have that kind of thing happen.
I've even heard reports where there's been audio captured where it's like, it almost sounds like singing.
Oh yeah, they sing.
Have you experienced that yourself? I
have heard recordings that a good friend of mine did of them singing basically a lullaby to an infant.
That's kind of what it sounded like. It sounded like, or even almost like an old, it's hard to, like an old hymn. It's just it's very weird. I don't know. And
they love music. They love music. That's a good technique for getting them to come in and understand that the group that they're dealing with is friendly, is not a threat. Play music. Now, if you go out there and you play heavy metal headbanging music, they're not going to have anything to do with you. But if you play something that is peaceful and sweet sounding and soothing, they got to come listen. And if you do the same thing night after night, the longer you do it, the more they'll come.
Do you think there's any, talking about call blasting, have you ever heard of people using like a baby cry to try? Do you find that effective, or it just leads to weird stuff?
Mixed results.
Okay.
Mixed results. We've had everything from nothing happening to so much going on that everybody wished they'd never tried it.
That's what I hear a lot.
Yeah, they have in the past come in very aggressively because they're not sure if it's one of their kids or one of our kids. Because when they're infants, you can't tell the difference.
Have you ever experienced times where things have started to get more aggressive or not, or hopefully not? I don't know how you look at it, but.
No, not really.
Okay, good.
Most of the time it's respectful on both sides. You see it on some of the TV shows where there's a Bigfoot over there, run at it.
Yeah.
You're nuts.
Not a smart move.
You need some help with what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to stand there, film it, thermal it, collect all the data you can. But if you run at it, it's going to go away. It's not going to stick around and wait for you to catch up to it.
So no bluff charging is what you're saying.
No. Yeah. People have had those experiences. Okay. Witnesses have had those experiences. For instance, a guy who's, say, hunting and he's checking out a draw that he's never hunted before and it's pretty rough and remote to get into. And he starts going up in there and he gets the heebie-jeebie vibe, maybe I shouldn't be here. Sure. But he presses on through that. Most people take that hint and leave.
Right.
But he presses on through that and he's going in an area where their family is. So they're going to kick him out. And he's going to get screamed at. He's going to get rocks thrown at him. One thing they like to do is grab a big tree limb and just snap it off. And it makes a lot of noise. It's very startling. They're just trying to get him to turn around and leave. There are people who have taken that hint, started leaving, and it basically escorts them out. They think they're being chased. They think they're running for their lives. They think that if they stop, they're going to get grabbed and killed. But no, they're just being herded out. One fellow I knew of that he was running away and he tripped and fell and he expected to be killed.
Wow.
And all it did is it stopped and waited for him to get up.
That's weird, man.
He took off running. It just kept up with him. They are so incredibly fast that if they want to catch you, you're done.
Man.
They will catch you. There is no human that can run as fast as what they can. Their intent is not to hurt you. Their intent is to make you leave. Take the hint.
That is very interesting. Oh, man. Scott, this has been a awesome conversation. Thank you so much for coming on. Crazy to think we're already at the end of the time, but I could see maybe sometime in the future, if you're up for it, maybe we'll have a follow-up interview because it sounds like you got stories on stories and some good advice. But is there a way that people can keep up to what you're doing or just keep an eye on the BFRO, or what do you say?
I would say just keep an eye on the BFRO website. Look for reports recently added.
Sure.
Not all of them that we do get published. Some of them, the witness doesn't want it published. Others are just, it could be anything. But that would be the best way to do it. I'm going to be speaking this year at the Sasquatch Summit in Ocean Shores, Washington.
Okay.
That's November 18th and 19th, I believe. That's usually a really good event, a lot of fun. People can come to that. I've spoken other places, libraries and Boy Scout troops and that kind of thing. But I don't have a website of my own. I prefer to let my work stand on the quality of the reports that we do.
I love it. Thank you for coming on, sir.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Thanks for coming back to another Bigfoot Society episode. This time we have Larry Sidwell from West Virginia. How's it going, Larry?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Having a great central Iowa day, nice and windy, but the sun's out. I'm loving it. How's it over there in West Virginia?
It's warm, sunny, and windy also.
Gotta love it.
Trees are just now starting into peak around here, so it's really nice.
I'm having you on today, Larry, because I got this crazy idea that it would be cool to chat with a few BFRO investigators. So I did some digging through the reports on BFRO.net. And the cool thing about that website is it tells who the investigator was that was involved with the case. Reached out to a few. You were nice enough to agree to coming on the podcast. And this is your first time chatting on a podcast, right?
Yes, it is. I'm excited.
That's awesome. The other cool thing about the BFRO is that they have a little write-up about the investigator. I'm seeing you've gone, I would say, at least 25 expeditions over the years, going back through 2012. It's pretty impressive.
Oh, thank you. And I've got a few more I've got to add on. We just did a Pleasant Hill Lake thing with Matt Moneymaker in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
We're drone flight, and I just got back from the Kentucky Bigfoot, the KBRO's expedition, and so when I leave 2 weeks, we're going to East Tennessee, and Lori Wade has a expedition in East Tennessee. She always does 2 or 3 a year, so got more to do.
Wow, that's amazing. You are getting all over the place. I love that. I just actually talked to a gentleman from East Tennessee. He had some pretty wild stories. He had some folklore tales, and he was talking about some sightings his family had over the years of Bigfoot type creatures. And it just seems like that Eastern Tennessee area, there's some wild stuff up in that hills for sure.
Yeah, I'm anxious to get down there. I've been in North Georgia and Western North Carolina, but I've not done the Eastern Tennessee yet. So this will be interesting. I guess it's a Cherokee National Forest is where it's going to be.
Okay, Larry, let's start with the beginning. What was it that first got you into the Bigfooting thing? What was it that first got your interest?
I did when I was growing up. I saw the old Patterson Gimlin film in my hometown theater on one Saturday afternoon, and I saw it, and I was a believer at that point. But then years ago, you're working, going through school and everything, got away from it. Then I saw the BFRO's website and saw that they had an expedition coming up in Kentucky. And I signed up for that one, and it had to be postponed for some reason I can remember then. And I ended up transferring to the West Virginia expedition. And that was in 2012, and went, and we had tons of activity on that expedition. The first night we were out on the trail, I was with a guy named Tyler Bounds, who is big Northwestern. I don't know if you know him or not.
I've heard the name. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He was our leader one group. We had a home run knock that first night, and I was sold at that point. There was no way it was anything other than something hitting it. It was like the biggest 4x4 in the woods hitting a big oak tree.
Wow.
And then we went out, and some other groups had a Class A on a thermal. Unfortunately, it was the only thermal we had that didn't record. I wasn't with
right.
The group. Friends were. They watched this thing for about 10 or 15 minutes. It was tree peeking, doing their usual checking us out behavior. Then the last night we came back and we did some call blasting with Monongahela down this road where we were at, down off the Blackwater River. And that's where our campsite was. We just camped, some call blasting. Nothing really happened. We went back to camp about 2:30. We all went to bed, and I could not go to sleep in the tent. I was like, my bones were aching. We'd hiked so much. And a couple, I think it was at least two, crossed the river behind my tent. My tent was close to the river, came up into our campsite and pushed on the top of my tent. I saw the hand
really
down. Yes, this was probably 3:30 in the morning. Everybody else was asleep and snoring. I think I was probably the only person awake in camp. And they messed around their camp for a while, picking up things, moving, rubbing on stuff. And I was scared to death. I was just literally terrified. And to the point where I picked up my key fob. My truck was right up the hill from me and was ready to hit the emergency alarm if it got crazy. But they moved on. The Bigfoots did. There was some chatter, weird chatter going on, some grunts. And the next morning I got up and talked to the other people there. There was 3 other campers there, 3 other tent sites, I should say. And we ended up going down to the river and found a partial print down where they crossed the river in the side of the bank. And so that was exciting. That was the 2012 West Virginia. expedition. That was my first. And at the time I was living in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, so it was hard for me to get back and forth. It was a long haul. So I ended up going on a couple of expeditions a year there. And we went back to the same area in 2013. We had some activity that year, but it wasn't as much. And with some of these expeditions, you'll have tons of activity, and others you won't have hardly any. It's just sometimes they don't want to play.
So your first, that's incredible. Your first Bigfoot expedition in 2012, you had a Bigfoot come to your tent and press down on the tent. I don't know how it can get much better than that. That I wouldn't have been able to get back to sleep myself.
I didn't go back to sleep until then. Mother Nature was calling, and I was too scared to even go outside. It was scary. And the next morning, finally, we had some daylight, and everybody else got up, and I told them what happened, and they were like,
wow,
we've been seeing weird things across the river from us. A couple of brown figures that we couldn't really pinpoint what they were. And this was days before any of us had, I didn't have a thermal imager. None of the group I was with had a thermal imager.
Sure.
If that's, he had stuff just going on across. One of the guys up the river, something had gotten into his tent messing around. We didn't know, somebody or whatever. So we ended up moving his entire tent down to our area and staying there. And the sad part is that area where we're camping, they no longer allow camping. It's in the Little Monongahela Wildlife Reserve.
Okay.
And I guess they have doing things they shouldn't do down in there. So they stopped camping along the river there, but it's an awesome place.
Wow. That sounds incredible. I've talked to a few gentlemen from West Virginia. I've talked to people like Joe Perdue, Dr. Russ Jones. It just sounds like the area, like people don't realize how crazy for Bigfoot the West Virginia area is, even to the extent like it's almost, as crazy as the Pacific Northwest. Do you have any thoughts regarding that?
Oh yeah, it's really taken off around here. You just go around to some of the areas down around Marlinton area and talk to people, and most of them are pretty open about it. They'll tell you that they've had these encounters numerous years through their family, from their grandfathers, and talking about the wild man of the woods or whatever, what they call them or whatever. And the Sutton is now doing a Bigfoot festival in June, and it's the second year this year. And it's amazing how it's grown. And the first year we were on like a question and answer panel, me and a couple other Bigfoot guys here, Charles Kimbrough from Virginia and Greg Lang from Virginia. And we were on stage for almost 2 hours. It was supposed to be only like an hour thing, but these people were just asking questions, and it was really. And so, yeah, Russ Jones and Darren Pavarnik were the leaders of the first and second expedition in West Virginia I went on.
Okay.
So Russ is a great guy. He is.
It really seems like he is. Yeah. Let's, just so I don't forget it, you mentioned that you were able to go out to Ohio to do some work with Matt Moneymaker. Is there anything that you can share from how that experience went? Okay,
yeah, it was at Pleasant Hill Lake Park in the Muskingum, I think I'm pronouncing that right, watershed district. And they had a sighting in their primitive campground a year before. So Louis Andre he's in charge of he's the naturalist, and he does special events for the park. Decided to set up a thing, and he and Suzanne Ferenchek got together, and they got this thing together. We get volunteers. There's 12 volunteers. We went out, and what happened was we decided to do. Matt wanted to do this is like a project he'd been wanting to do for a long time, using a thermal drone. And so a guy named Robert Evans, he lives in St. Augustine, Florida. He has some really nice drone equipment, and they got it all together, got him up here. We all were over there the 1st of September, and we were there a week getting up with him. There was a lot of planning involved, and it was a whole festival. It was for the family and everything. They had a VIP dinner on Friday night, and during the VIP dinner, we were able to fly the drone and in real time transmit the drone images back to a big screen TV.
Wow.
So that the participants in the VIP dinner, and Matt narrated, and I was the radio man between Matt and Robert Evans, who was flying the drone pilot. And we were able to, we didn't see any Bigfoots, but a lot of deer and stuff there. People were able to see the technology. Unfortunately, that time of year, the the tree canopy layer was hard to get down where you could see down in some areas. So we had to go along the edge of the woods, and it was really a great thing. The technology, the thermal imager was 640 resolution. He could bring it in, bring it out. And we flew 5 missions each night. We had 5 batteries. So we flew each 5 missions the first night. And the second night, they had a town hall down at the park. They had a big screen set up there. And the end of it, after the town hall meeting, where people were discussing their sightings in the area and all this, it's mainly in the Mohican Forest, Mohican State Park area.
Okay.
Yeah, this borders it. There's a lake between the park and the Pleasant Hill Lake Park, between Mohican Park. And the people they talked about their sightings, like in a town hall, like they did on Finding Bigfoot. And so we flew it again that night, and things were a lot smoother the second night. We'd had some internet issues the first night, and we worked all that out. And the second night we were able to, it was flawless. We did so much more stuff. We had a lot more deer. We actually had 2 bucks fighting. And it came out really nice. And it looks like we're going to do it again next year, the first weekend of October. We're going to repeat it. Matt Moneymaker will be coming back there. And it was a pleasure to get to work with Matt for a week and get to really know him. And he is so passionate about the research. That is fascinating. It sounds like there's probably some plans in order to fine tune that in the future. You can have an audience seeing live, looking for a Bigfoot. That blows my mind. That makes for a very cool future to do with Bigfooting. Or you could have multiple people watching, and more people are going to notice things logically than just one person looking at the footage. And it could get really cool. Yeah, they were able to tell us where things were, because we're looking at TV, a phone-sized screen or laptop, and we're not able to see the full projection. And they were telling us to go right, go left, and so we'd have the drone go right, left, and it was really amazing. That is awesome. Yeah, Matt has some very interesting forward-thinking ideas when it comes to utilizing technology and Bigfoot research. And hopefully someday I'll be able to chat with him. Let's talk some more about your expeditions over the years, Larry. That first expedition, you had some really crazy things happen. Was it a thing where did things get even more wild over the years at different expeditions, or was that 2012 kind of that epitome of how wild things got for you? Like I said, some years you'll get knocks and howls. I really get into recording audio, and I've had some audio. We do a thing called long duration recorders, put those out. They'll record 30 days for 9 or 10 hours a night on a set of batteries that we've got set up. So I've done some audio. Plus, I had a Class A sighting in Land Between the Lakes in 2019. Charlie Raymond had a big BFRO expedition in Land Between the Lakes, and I was actually able to get a catch one, or not catch one, but get to watch one for very few seconds. But it was definitely a big call, and it took a long time to get that Class A. Listeners may know that Land Between the Lakes usually comes up when people are talking about Dogman, but there's also Bigfoot reported in that area in Kentucky, correct, Larry? Absolutely, yeah. It's the land between Kentucky and Barkley Lake. Sure. It's forested area, it's protected area. And there's a lot of dogman. There was the ledge monster that killed the people that no one seems to find a lot of evidence about now, but it was rumors that went around. But we went there 2 years, and we had the first year we had a little bit of activity. The second year we had quite a bit of activity with knocks, and a lot of knocks in that area. And then the night I saw, we had split the group up. There was an intersection of 2 Forest Service roads, and we decided myself and another guy stayed at the crossroads of the roads, and then we split up in 4 different groups. One went north, south, east, and west, and went down, and then we had timed. We were going to do time knocks between the 4. Every 15 minutes, a group was going to do knocks. After the second group, we had knocks right across the road from us, me and the other gentleman, and they were close. So I walked over to the road and the main intersection, and was therming down where the knocks were coming at. And I happened to look down the road going to the south, and we had two girls down there. They were down about 150, 200 yards down the road. And I noticed they turned on their white light, which spooked me. I opened, well, there was a lot of activity going on. We had the hair on our necks, that syndrome coming up, or kicking in. It was just, there was a lot of activity going on. And they turned on their white lights. When they did, it illuminated up the road. And the Bigfoot crossed the road about halfway between me and them, went across the road. And it was huge and fast. And I was just very lucky that they had illuminated with white light, right? It actually shone and it came through there. And it was pretty amazing. We reenacted it a couple of times. And
okay.
I think Charlie has my interview on his YouTube with the Kentucky Bigfoot Research
Awesome. Yeah, very good. I'll have to definitely check that out. So you saw the Bigfoot cross the road illuminated by white light, correct?
By white light, yes.
Thinking back to that time, were you able to see things pretty clear? Did you see anything about its face, or what are some details maybe you remember about it?
The broadness of its shoulders, the length of its arms, and the way it walked. It was hunched over. I won't say walk. It was moving pretty quick. It crossed a 25-foot area in about 3 steps.
Wow.
And extremely fast. I didn't see the facial details. And, but it was no doubt in my mind what I saw. It's the only thing it could have been. It was just, the size of it and the quickness it moved, and quiet. I think what happened when they turned on the white light, it had been probably in that area where we heard the knocks. It came out of that area. It came across. I think we spooked it when the white lights turned on. They were actually illuminating the ground. They had found what they thought was a track there, and were looking at it with the white light. They couldn't see it very good with their red lights that we use at night on hikes. And I was actually a good glimpse of it, good look at it.
That is incredible. Do you over the years when you're going on different expeditions, do you ever encounter anything that is weird, but definitely not Bigfoot? Do you ever run across the paths of any other, could be cryptids or other weird things in the woods?
Orbs.
Really?
We had a lot of orbs, especially in Land Between the Lakes. We were actually watching one the night that we saw the Bigfoot. There was a red one up in the trees where we were watching, and people encountered them the entire expedition down there. Both years we had orbs. That's about the only other thing we had actually an orb go near. There's a lot of cemeteries in the Land Between the Lakes, old family plots and stuff and had one of the groups, a really good researcher was there, investigator, and had them saw them. So it was, they were just a lot of orbs. We get them just about everywhere we go, it seems. You
had mentioned when you're talking about Land Between the Lakes, I believe you said that it was the ledge monster. Is that correct?
The what now?
You had said that there were reports of some kind of monster beside the Dogman.
Yeah, they weren't sure whether it was a Dogman or Bigfoot or whatever. There was a group of campers killed.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yep.
That old legend. I think you probably heard
the infamous legend, I believe, from the 1980s of the campground. It was almost pretty much a massacre in a way. Yeah.
So there were bodies in the trees and everything.
Not good. No
one's able to find any evidence with the police department.
Exactly. That's the tricky thing about that. And I know that is opening up a can of worms with some listeners, and I may get some emails, which I welcome. The Dogman community is very passionate, and they're doing some great research down there for sure. Are you still actively going on Bigfoot expeditions, Larry?
Oh, yes. I've got a couple more coming up. And actually, I'm going to be hosting a BFRO West Virginia expedition next September, 14th to 17th. And I'll have it here. I can't give the location, but it'll be in a great spot. And that's open for registration now on bfro.net on our site. You can go in and talk, and then we select people that want to do it, and then I'll interview them. We've already got a lot of presentation people signed up. We got B. Mills, Monongahela, and Charles Kimber are going to be presenters at night. Yeah, it looks like we're getting it together. I'm getting a lot of inquiries already. Already selected about 6 people.
I didn't know that on an expedition. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the organizer calls you, talks to you, and makes sure we're not getting people in that are going to hoax and do things that just aren't in the interest of the expedition.
I like that.
Yeah, they send their stuff into Caroline Curtis, the secretary of the BFRO, and then she gets it back out to the organizer, and then we make a phone call. And a lot of the repeaters we don't call back. I already know the people that are repeaters. It's the newbies I usually call up and really want to make sure that they know what they're getting into, and there is a charge involved. We have to get insurance and permits.
Exactly.
So we try to keep it as reasonable as we can, but we have expenses for scouting trips and everything.
The last few minutes that we have, Larry, I've got one more question for you. You've gone on so many different expeditions, and pretend you're speaking to someone, maybe a listener who wants to go look for Bigfoot, have their first expedition. How do they need to be prepared? What things would you recommend?
There's so many different ways to approach it. You can go in and come to you. You can night hike and trail. I make sure you're in fairly good condition, which I need to get myself back in shape. Make sure you're, good shoes. I highly encourage people not to do it alone.
Sure.
Always have, so that's people get lost, and you can always have an audio recorder. Just have an open mind. Remember, not everything that happens in the woods, not every noise is a Bigfoot. The different night sounds, what a barred owl sounds, what a coyote sounds like. And coyotes have got so many different sounds they can make. Listen for knocks and howls, and just say, find a friend that's interested in it, get it, and it'll get. If you go out and start having activity, and try to pick out an area that it's active. You can go on the BFRO site. We break it down by state and county where you're at. Pick out an area that's near you, and just go in and hit some of the trails. Most of the state parks and state forests are really open to it. And there seems to be activity in just about every national forest, especially in the East Coast, where we have activity in sightings. And you can start out with just a red headlamp and walkie-talkies and things, and you can get into where you'll get addicted, and then you'll end up buying $1,000 thermal imager, this and that. Thermal imagers have gotten cheaper over the last few years, and there's some real good affordable units.
Even if you don't see a Bigfoot, it is still a really fun camping trip that you're getting out in nature, and we all could use a lot more of that.
Yes, that's 99% of it. Just getting out in nature and meeting old friends. That's a great thing on these expeditions is we only get together, some of us 2 or 3 times a year, and we get together and talk about our stories and our research, and we try new things just to, try to make it easier for us. At the last expedition I was at in Kentucky this fall, we actually had activity right in base camp.
Wow.
During a presentation, Monongahela was playing some audio, and we had knocks and whoops and eye shine right in base camp.
No way.
During the presentation, and
that's incredible.
Area, I won't tell the area because it's an active research area.
Sure,
but it's been crazy there. We were doing them at 11 o'clock in the morning one day, and he was doing his audio presentation, and we had whoops and knocks over the hill right behind us from where we were doing it.
Oh wow. That is incredible. What an experience that must have been. Larry, thank you so much for hanging out and sharing your experience with Bigfoot over the years. This has been very informational. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Before you go, I always like to give the guest a chance. Is there any things that people can do to follow up with what you're doing, or would the best thing be to keep an eye on the BFRO website? What do you think?
Just keep an eye on the BFRO website. I don't have a blog or anything, but
sure.
Keep up with the BFRO website. We've been quiet in West Virginia lately with reports, so I haven't had a lot to do, but they seem to come in big groups. So hopefully we'll coming out there real soon, and you can keep up with like I said, the BFRO website and looking at the reports and just checking with the newest ones coming in.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on, Larry. Have a good day. Thank you to you, all my listeners, for listening to the podcast. Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's a list. Bush pilots in Alaska that have seen something from their plane. Retired law enforcement officers whose department had a large file for Bigfoot encounters. Individuals that have had Bigfoot encounters on their family property through multiple years and generations. Individuals who've had a face-to-face encounter in the state of Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, West Virginia, Alabama, or Mississippi. Individuals who've had a face-to-face encounter in the state of Oklahoma or Arkansas in the Ouachita National Forest. Individuals who've had a face-to-face encounter on Prince of Wales Island or surrounding area in Southeast Alaska. Any encounter in Franklin County, Texas. Hunters that have never shared what they saw in the woods due to fear of ridicule. Individuals that have had a Bigfoot tried to enter your house in the Honobbe, Oklahoma area. Any encounters that happened within a 20-mile radius of Northfield, Massachusetts and 25-mile radius of Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Encounters in the Enchanted Circle. Encounters in the Yosemite National Park area or any national park for that matter. Individuals that have lived a long life don't care what people think about them now and want to share what happened to them 50 to 60 years ago. I'm your guy to share your story. Individuals that live in remote wooded property and feel like they're under attack by Bigfoot after clearing their land. And lastly, any Bigfoot encounters where the individual saw what seemed to be an orangutan. Please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com if any of those fit what you've experienced. And for those where it doesn't fit, please feel free to reach out anyways. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. I'll see you back next time, listeners. New shows on Mondays and Fridays. I'll see you then.